Okie dokie. Hello, everyone. Once again, Sam slash Mega Hentai here. And this time around, I'm doing the Windowseat Book Bingo 2 for 2026. That's the spring one. So in previous bingos, I've tried to double up with other awards like the Goodreads Awards. This time around, I was doubling up with the 2026 Reading Challenge from Lily's Library. If you're not familiar with it, it's a OnlyFans / Fansly channel I've been subscribed to for a while. It's very much a heavy book themed thing. Lily is an actual librarian, believe it or not. Currently living in Alberta, former BC girl. But, I forgive her. So for her reading challenge, there were 5 books. We have until the end of the year to do them. I figured, what the hell, get it all done alongside this round of book bingo. Nothing. There was some interesting challenges this time around, I thought. So I'm just going to go through what I had, what I managed to get done here. Let's see. Right, so square one, write a note and leave it in a book to be found later. Again, easy enough to do because I have so many of those pop-up libraries on my run. So I took one book that I'd read. I bought it at Arbutus for like $2 or something. It was called Silly About Cats, I think. It was this little cartoon book that was published in like 1959, just single panel jokes about how hard it is to get rid of kittens when your cat has them, and just basically just repeating the same jokes over and over. So I left a little note in that. It just said meow, little paw print on it. And I left that in one of the libraries for somebody. Number 2, read a book set in the summer. From Lola Faust, we have Wet Hot Allosaurus Summer. Yeah, pretty standard issue. It's your romance story. Young girl falls for the bad boy. They escape from her farm life and try to escape to the city and so on. The only real twist being that the boyfriend is an actual dinosaur. It's the second one of these I've read from Faust, actually. It's just hard to explain the appeal, but it's one of those things where my critical reader mind starts looking at things like, oh, well, that's not how a bullet in the shoulder would work, and there'd be more trauma from losing an arm like that, and then you remember, oh, right, it's a story about a girl who wants to bang a dinosaur. So, why am I getting so worked up about this? Not for everyone, obviously, but I always have fun with them. Square number 3, carry a poem in your pocket for the day. I went a step further. A book of poems. I Could Pee on This by Francesco Marciuliano, I guess it's pronounced. A book of poems by cats, basically. It's adorable if you're a cat person. And, hard to... There's one that I really like where about, where the cats, that if you've had that thing where a cat, you're in one room with a door closed, the cat wants in and wants in and wants in and wants in, and then when the cat gets in, it just sort of looks around and, oh, okay, and then leaves. Yeah. Things like that this book tries to explain. It's more of a gift book than anything. Number 4, read a short story. So this is the first one where I was doubling up with Lily's Library. The challenge there was a book you've always wanted to read. And that was a whole lot trickier because normally if I want to read a book, I at least end up with it in my TBR pile pretty quick. Just, yeah, a book you've always wanted to read. I mean, that doesn't really cover a whole lot of ground, but it did finally dawn on me. I've meant to read William S. Burroughs forever, ever since like back in the '90s when I got this album of him doing readings from his work with Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy doing the doing the musical accompaniment. So I ended up picking up a copy of Interzone, which is three things. It's a collection of short stories, it's a collection of Burroughs' letters to William Ginsberg, and it's this long piece of like beat poetry ish called Word. I love the short stories, especially The Junkie's Christmas, which has been a favorite of mine forever, like ever since I heard the album. The letters to Ginsberg were okay. I hated Word. Just, I know some people love that stuff, can't get enough of it. Good on them. Hope they have fun. I can't stand that. I don't. Yeah, just I got so tired of the repetition, and yeah, it wasn't for me. I do want to go back now and read like Burroughs' earlier stuff, but just like Queer or Junkie, those could be entertaining. Yeah, but I'm not. If his later stuff is like Word, I'll leave that well enough alone, I think. Square number 5, plan your next 2 books. I mean, this was going to happen no matter what. Between the bingo, Lily's Library, and just the 1 book a day thing I've been doing all year, that was never not going to happen. Square number 6, write a book review. Reviewed on Goodreads, Volume 1 of Girls' Zombie Party. Which I gave 3 stars. I said it 3 out of 5. I said it's basically, how do I put this? It's basically High School of the Dead, but a whole lot rapier. And just, I don't know, something like that. Either lean right into it or leave it out altogether. So I wasn't really into this. You know, I don't think I'm going to bother continuing on with the series. Number 7, again, read a short story. So I've had this in my TBR pile forever, Comics Prose, edited by Nat Gertler. Some good stories in here, but I'm just not sure who this is for. Like, the whole thing is, it really hammers the idea of, oh my God, these writers, they're best known for comics, but would you believe they can also write things that don't have pictures? And it's like, okay, if you're a comics fan, you already know that. And if you aren't a comics fan, you're never going to see this. So why is that the pitch? It just baffles me. I don't get it at all. It's still worth reading, though. Let's see. Number 8, read a book by a queer author. This is the second one where I was doubling up with Lily's Library. There it was a book outside your comfort zone. The book was Lessons Learned by Emily Black. So the cover copy and the Amazon copy present this as you're just your basic, naughty schoolgirls being disciplined kind of smut story. And I bought it on the strength of that. What the copy doesn't really tell you in either case is that the girls in this case are pre-op trans. So, and like I've said for a long time, smut, porn, erotica, whatever you want to call it, is the easiest literary genre in the world to judge if it fits within your orientation, and the hardest to judge if it doesn't. And in this case, it doesn't, because I'm not into that. So I very much I had this. When it showed up and I realized what it actually was, I meant to give it away. and never got around to it, and glad I didn't, because the writer Emily Black is also a trans woman who is also into this sort of stuff. That worked out. Let's see. Number 9, carry a book with you for the day. Okay. If ever you find yourself wondering just how into these book bingos I get and how seriously I take them, reflect on the fact that I went to a Christian bookstore and bought a Bible for this thing, just because I figured it would be nice and easy to carry around. Okay, yeah, it was like $5. I used to have one of these when I was in junior high, and it was much nicer. This is really cheaply made, but it is still an actual Bible. It does have all the text in it, though admittedly microscopic, and you would need better glasses than these, I think, to read it. Let's see. Number 10, read a history book. Cartoonists Against Racism. Here we go. So back in the 30s and 40s, obviously the Nazis were doing a lot of anti-Semitic propaganda. So over in the States, I can't remember the name, but one really well-known and wealthy person decided he was going to do sort of a counterattack on that. So it was a lot of stuff in calling for anti-bigotry. Okay. And reading through this, I was kind of two minds about it. Like, I'm always really leery of propaganda, even if I agree with the thing it's pushing. So in this case, I mean, yeah, it's pro-union, anti-racist, anti-Semitic, it's just all stuff I fundamentally agree with. And yet, at the same time, the fact that there's a rich guy pushing these ideas on people, it kind of icks me out. So thankfully, this was all long before I was born, so I don't have to take a hard stance on it either way. But it was still interesting stuff. I hadn't known any of this was going on, and it was kind of neat to see like Dave Berg of Mad Magazine doing something a little more serious with his talents. Number 11, read a cli-fi story, i.e. climate fiction. This is the third one where I doubled up with Lily's. And that was N.K. Jemison's The Fifth Season. I hadn't heard of Jemison before this, but it was one of the, I think, 5 options that Lily had on the list. So I went with that one just on the grounds that they had a copy at the Lit Center. It was fascinating stuff. I really dug this book. I've often said like the conversational writing style for a narrator is really hit and miss for me. Like, either I love it all to hell and it gets me right into the story, or it just comes off like it's trying too hard. This was very much the second one. I loved everything about this. Solid 10 out of 10. And yes, entirely to do with climate change. In fact, takes place in a world where every few hundred years or so, there's a 5th season where the world is just completely ravaged by environmental issues. But it's also, at its core, kind of an X-Men thing, which it took me about probably a quarter of the way into the book to finally pick up on. Let's see. Number 12, read a children's book. So I hit one of the pop-up libraries I mentioned earlier and grabbed a copy of The Color Kittens, written by Margaret Wise Brown. It's one of these books where it's like basically printed on stiff cardboard, and it's the sort of thing where if it was one step further, it would also be waterproof and chewable. And it's all about adorable kitty cats learning how to mix paint. When I looked it up on Goodreads, it said this edition actually came as part of a 4-pack that also included the Pokey Little Puppy, and I hadn't read that in forever. I thought, I wish I could have read that instead. Would have been nice. Square 13, of course, is a free book. Number 14, Read by the Ocean. I went to Troller's Fish and Chips to meet some friends, and while I was waiting, I was reading Connection Restored by Xander Feist, which is crap. It is so badly done. It's like not even 50 pages. It feels like I'm slogging through 80 or 100 pages. I'm halfway convinced this was written by AI. It's just the plot is wonky. The characters are dumb. Yeah, just wasn't a fan. Number 15, celebrate an author. I forget the number, but this year was the something anniversary of the passing of Douglas Adams. So I celebrated by wearing my So Long and Thanks for All the Fish t-shirt while listening to the album versions of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is, I hadn't heard in forever. I'd forgot they even existed until I found them on YouTube. Number 16, read the first lines of 3 books. I mean, again, with the book a day thing I'm doing, that happened no matter what. 17, listen to an author talk about writing, event, or interview. That was an episode of the podcast Amusing Jews, where they were interviewing Esther Friesner, who's been a favorite of mine for a long, long time, ever since I read the No Man's Land trilogy back in the 90s. Just amazing stuff. She did a stint where she was more into YA, but I will always have a soft spot for her fantasy comedy stuff. Number 18, read a book set on the east coast of Canada. From Kendra May Chalin, Longing, which is a romance novel set in Halifax. It's okay stuff. It wasn't earth-shattering, but it certainly wasn't bad. I think maybe it's one of these things where you have to read the whole series to really get into the characters and the setting. I may or may not go back to that just for fun. Number 19, bookish photography. Take a picture of your book. That happened entirely by accident, actually. I just was thrift storing, looking for a cheap old computer, which I no longer need, but whatever. And while I was there, I kept looking. Oh well, while I'm here, I'll look at the book section. So I got home and realized I had now eight or 9 more books. So I took a picture of them and posted to Facebook and said, well, I guess we can add these to the list of places I can't go anymore. And it was only afterwards that I realized, oh, wait, I was supposed to take a picture of books anyway. So that worked out. Number 20, make a bookmark. This was the last thing I did. Because like I've said before, I'm not an arts and crafts guy. But I did make one. It was... it wasn't that great, but I was proud of the joke. It was the official crappy bookmark of the 2026 World Cup. Because I'm sure someone somewhere has thought to do that. I mean, you've got the official everything else of the goddamn thing. Blows my mind. Number 21, read a book by a woman. I mean, 40 or 50 years ago, sure, but now, I mean, every other book I read is by a woman. I mean, women are pretty much taking over the literary landscape at this point, aren't they? But anyway, that was another one where I doubled up with Lily's Library. I think this was number 4, where it was read a banned book. So, Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. Which is her autobiography It's it's about her being a young girl in Iran at the time of the Islamic Revolution. So basically, her looking at just presenting what it's like to be an average person as opposed to a fundamentalist fanatic living in Iran at the time, and then what it was like for her when she left Iran to get away from all that, and how people looked at her when she got out into the wider world. Banned in multiple libraries across the U.S. The excuse always being that there's drug use or smoking or some bullshit thing. We all know the real reason why American libraries would want to ban a book that humanizes Muslims living in Iran. Yeah, it's not really hard to figure out. Number 22, read a poem. Once again, did a whole book. 100 Poems by Till Lindemann. It's Lindemann is the front man for the heavy metal band Rammstein, and I get the feeling whoever did the translation from German on this thing was having a field day with it. Because Lindemann has a really warped sense of humor, and that's when these things are at their best. There's other more just pedestrian poetry, I guess you'd call it, which isn't, it's not bad, but the stuff I really remember from it is when he's being funny. Number 23, reread one of your favorite books, and this was the fifth one, doubling up with Lily's Library, where it was read a book by a Canadian author. So I took that as my excuse to reread The Goat in the Tree by Lorne Eliot, which is one of my favorites. Eliot's been a favorite of mine for years and years, and The Goat in the Tree is the best thing I think I've read from him. It's the story of a sort of low-level con man who's touring through Morocco, and it sort of gets involved in a university, not literature, but oral storytelling. What is it? It's not seminar. What's the word? Conference. That's it. Conference is the word I'm looking for. It's kind of fascinating because it's a story about storytelling, and why storytelling matters, but also conversely why it's kind of dangerous to get too into examining the idea. So yeah, it takes a while. Yeah, I've heard people say that the plot isn't that satisfying because it kind of meanders a bit, but to me that's the point of it. Anyways, so yeah, I went through that Canadian book that I loved the first time around, and I'm probably going to keep it around just so I can give it another read in a couple of years or so. Number 24, support an indie bookstore on Independent Bookstore Day. Went into Windowseat and bought The Water Lover by Patrick Allaby. Little short graphic novel about a guy who suddenly discovers he's drinking a lot of water, and he starts feeling ill, and of course if he learns he has diabetes, and that's why he's so obsessed with it. Pretty quick in and out read. And finally, number 25, read a translated book. Again, with the amount of manga I plow through and light novels, this would have been easy. But I went a bit of a different route. The first volume of Nemi by Lise Meyer, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a comic strip that ran for quite a while. I don't think it's still in production, but I could be wrong. Sort of a goth girl with the who sort of spends half her time obsessing over very adult things, but also in a lot of ways has the mind of a 7-year-old. So yeah, fun stuff there. And I think it's originally Norwegian or Icelandic. It's somewhere in the Nordic countries, anywho. Yeah, I've only ever found the one volume of it. But apparently there are others, so I'm going to track them down if I can. So there we go. That's me finishing up the 2026 spring book bingo with what is it today, the 22nd. So I guess I guess about 8 days to spare. And so looking forward to the next one. And thanks for sticking around. Bye now.